Hello and welcome back to my channel. It's Tina. And we've got a lot of work to do today, folks, because today is my July thriller, mystery, suspense, and horror preview. I'm going to share all of the thriller, mystery, suspense, and horror novels that are coming out in July that caught my eye. So if you like thrillers, you're going to want to keep watching. I do these videos monthly for you, so if you like to know what books are coming out specifically in the thriller, mystery, suspense, and horror space, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel if you've not already. But I have so many new releases to talk about, so let's get into the books. Right, I have some in front of me, but I'm going to put these down because you don't need to see me holding them. And I only have so many physical copies. Most of the books that I am going to be talking about, I don't have copies of. But we'll begin with July 1st. First up, we've got A Mother Always Knows by Sarah Strohmeyer, and this is about Stella, who is just your average millennial working at a public library. No one would suspect that she's been living under an assumed name or that she was raised in a Vermont community of diviners, where as a 10-year-old, she witnessed her mother's brutal murder, a crime that has gone unsolved for years. But then her quiet existence goes upended when a true crime obsessive posts her current name and location on the internet, and now Stella has to get out of Boston before her mom's killer can find her and finish the job they started so many years ago. Now, it does sound like it gets a little bit woo-woo. Stella has two powerful assets, determination and a supernatural gift, relying on her mother's beloved rose quartz pendulum. She will have to outwit the charismatic leader of this cult who's ruined so many lives. So there you have it. Next is Fog and Fury by Rachel Housel Hall. This is about a PI who is new to this beautiful seaside town, but this town has secrets. It is dirtier than it looks and more dangerous too. The main character was an LAPD cop for 10 years, and she relocates to the seaside town to live with her mother, and she joins up with her godfather's burgeoning PI business. 48 hours into her return to town, Figgy's disappearance entangles Sunny in an unwelcome reunion with her ex, one of the town's wealthiest citizens, and then a body of a teenage boy is found along a popular hiking trail, so she's drawn into a web of strange beyond anything she saw in LA. Party of Liars is a locked room mystery about a Texas-sized Sweet 16 party that turns deadly. Because you're following Sophie Matthews, it's her 16th birthday party, and it's a exclusive black tie bash in this small Texas town where secrets are as deep-rooted as the sprawling live oaks. Her dad has spared no expense, and just as the candles are blown out, a body falls from the balcony onto the starlit dance floor below. But who is killing people? Everyone's a suspect. All right, the last one for July 1st is The White Crow by Michael Robotham. This one is a new novel in his Wilhelmina McCarthy books, and she defies the odds and becomes a police officer with the Metropolitan Police Department despite her father and uncles being notorious London gangsters. On patrol one night, she finds a barefoot child covered in blood who's wandered away from the scene of a deadly home invasion. Meanwhile, 3 miles away, a prominent jeweler is found strapped to an explosive in his ransacked store. The crimes are linked and they all point to Wilhelmina's father being the culprit. That sounds very good. All right, now for July 8th, you have Night Watcher by Daphne Wollstonecraft. I'm so excited to read this. It's about a woman named Nola Strait who is being watched again because she had this encounter with a notorious serial killer in the Pacific Northwest as a child. She has grown up and tried her best to forget her traumatizing night with the hiding man. She installed security cameras outside her Oregon home and never talked to anybody about what happened to her. And now she hosts Night Watch, which is a popular radio call-in show. Something happens which leads her to believe she's being stalked, and a caller on Night Watch has a live incident with an intruder in the caller's home, and this description sounds familiar to her. She's convinced that the hiding man has resurfaced and is coming for her. I hear this one is so scary. It's reminding me of Tell Me What You Did, a book that I love, so I'm hopeful that this one works for me as well. Next is How to Survive a Horror Story by Mallory Arnold. It's about 7 authors who enter a manor. Can they survive the story within? Legendary horror author Mortimer Queen passes, and a group of writers find themselves invited to his last will and testament, expecting a piece of his massive fortune. Each have their own reasons for being there and their unique connections with this literary icon, and some of them have been waiting to step in his shoes for a very long time. Instead, they arrive at his grand manor and are invited to play a game. The rules are simple: solve the riddle and progress to the next room. If they don't, the manor will take one of them for itself. You see, the Queen estate was built on the bones of Mortimer's family, and like any true horror story, the house is still very, very hungry. I love it. I would be very bad at this game in real life. I'm not good at puzzles, but I think this sounds really fun. It's a locked room mystery, spooky house. I am in. Next is Our Last Resort by Clémence Michelon, and this one is about a brother and sister who are arriving to a hotel seeking a fresh start. This hotel is in the secluded desert of Utah. They used to be really close and were able to finish each other's sentences, but they've grown apart in recent years because they've experienced an unspeakable tragedy. But now they're at this luxe resort and they are ready to reconnect. And it feels like paradise until the dead body of a beautiful young woman who was vacationing at the Ara with her powerful, much older husband is discovered. Local police come, and quickly one of the siblings is implicated, essentially, and his sister is forced to revisit memories from their upbringing in a cult. So they grew up in this cult, they escaped, and there was a scandal that follows. Frida never thought that her brother was guilty, but now she can't ignore the mounting evidence against him. This sounds really good. I really liked her book, The Quiet Tenant. It's more of a slower pace, slower burn, but I like the sound of this one. I hope it's really good, and I hope it's not a sophomore slump. Do you like Ruth Ware? She has a new book coming out. It is The Woman in Cabin 10. That's not true. It's called The Woman in Suite 11, but it is the second book in the Woman in Cabin 10 series. This one's set a decade later. You're following the main character of the last one, Lo. She's attending the opening of a luxury hotel in Switzerland, and there she finds danger. She just had a child about 3 years ago, and she's ready to dive back into the journalism world. When she gets there, the shores of Lake Geneva is everything she's dreamed of, and she hopes to snag an interview with the billionaire that invited them there. Unfortunately, he is proving to be more difficult to pin down than his reputation might suggest. And then Lo gets a late night call asking her to come to Marcus's hotel room, and she agrees, even though she doesn't think she should. She still does it. And when she's there, she's greeted by a woman claiming to be Marcus's mistress who is in life or death jeopardy. What follows is a cat and mouse game across Europe, forcing her to ask herself just how much she's willing to sacrifice to save this woman and if she can even trust her. That sounds really good. Next is July 15th, and we will start with this one. Look at the cover. It's so wonderful. It's called Matchmaking for Psychopaths by Tasha Coriel. I really liked her book, Love Letters to a Serial Killer. It's about a woman who works as a matchmaker for a very specific, very dangerous clientele, psychopaths. And what do you know? She finds herself in danger. Her fiance goes missing, and threatening packages begin arriving at her doorstep, and she has to figure out who is trying to target her and how it relates to her own dark past. I like the sound of it. Another one that I really like the sound of is Everyone is Lying to You by Joe Piazza. And this is the hashtag trad wife murder mystery we've all been waiting for. Have we all been waiting for that? Unclear. But this is about Lizzie and Beck, who used to be best friends in college. After graduation, Beck's vanished, leaving Lizzie confused and devastated. 15 years later, Beck's is now Rebecca Summers, who is a traditional influencer online, has millions of followers and this perfectly curated life. And she invites her old roommate to interview her because she's a struggling magazine writer and she wants to help her old friend out. And then they go to this conference. That's where the interview is going to take place. When they're there, Beck's husband is found murdered. And so Lizzie finds herself plunged into the cutthroat world of social media, which includes things like sordid affairs, jealousy, swingers, and backstabbing. This one's going on the TBR cart. Next, you have The Lake Escape by Jamie Day, and this is about a family that embarks on their annual summer getaway to Lake Timony in Vermont. When one of them vanishes, secrets emerge as they search for the missing woman. I think this sounds like a good summer one. You've got this nice lake home. Sounds like rich people problems. The guy that's hosting is very excited to show off his new renovations at his home, which blocks his friends' cherished lake views, and he has a much younger girlfriend. He also unwittingly brings a nanny with a hidden agenda. What could possibly go wrong? I don't know, but you'll have to let me know. Silvia Moreno Garcia has a new one coming out. It's called The Witching. This is about witches, I would imagine. I don't even know if it's a mystery or if it even really belongs here. Maybe horror, unclear, but I will tell you about it. It's about Minerva, whose great grandmother always told stories about when she was a young woman and how there were still witches there. These stories have stayed with Minerva her entire life, and she's become a graduate student focused on the history of horror literature and is researching the life of Beatrice Tremblay, an obscure author of macabre tales. And so she's doing research, and in doing so, she uncovers some information that reveals Tremblay's most famous novel, The Vanishing. She finds that it was inspired by a true story. It sounds like you get dual point of view and you follow what happened decades earlier during the Great Depression. And it's about this person's roommate who disappeared under mysterious circumstances. Minerva begins to suspect that the same shadow that darkened the lives of her great-grandmother and friends is now threatening her own 1990s Massachusetts life. An academic career can be a punishing pursuit, but this one might turn deadly because witchcraft's involved. I almost missed this one. I almost did not add it, but I was like, wait a minute, this sounds really good. It's called One Yellow Eye. I say it sounds really good. If you're a weirdo like me and you like pandemic plague books, this could work for you. This is a spin on a zombie book, and you have a brilliant scientist who is desperately searching for a cure after a devastating epidemic while also hiding a monumental secret, her own undead husband. Excuse me? So how far would you go to save your marriage? For British scientists, there is no limit. All right, so it sounds like there is this plague that hits London, and you're following a researcher who's always studied microbes, and it turns out her husband gets infected by this. She goes into triage mode, and the government has been rounding up all of those that are affected, but she refuses to let her husband go there, and she keeps her undead husband a secret. And she does that by like using the resources from the hospital where she works. She's taking care of him, but he's really declining, and the sedatives aren't working like they used to, and his violent outbursts are becoming more frequent. She's racing against the clock, withering away herself, and her care for her husband has turned into an absolute obsession. This sounds really good. They're working on a cure. Will the cure save everybody, or will it cause another outbreak? I don't know. I'm gonna have to read it to find out. Damn it, there's so many good ones. Love You to Death is about two friends that have a hobby of being wedding crashers. And one day their wedding crashing hobby turns deadly, and they're forced to embark on a road trip of survival. I love a road trip book, especially when somebody's running from something, especially when they have to like hide and change their appearance. I think that's so, I don't know, compelling. So this sounds really good to me. Not to mention, these are the only Black women at an antebellum themed wedding. They should have known it was doomed from the start, and they shouldn't have come, but their financial situation is doomed. I guess they're like stealing presents and gifts from these weddings, and this is their final hit, and they get caught and they make national news, and suddenly they are on the lam. And one of the friends realizes that her friend is far more dangerous than she could have ever imagined. This sounds really good. Dang, again, another one. You've got a horror debut, and look at this cover. Negative Images, Rebecca Shire, Akamelu. This sounds wonderful. It's comped to September House by Carissa Orlando, which I love. This is a psychological horror debut, and this is a grief horror novel. It's about Anita Walsh, who's still reeling from her husband's unexpected death. She finds herself haunted by grief and a new phenomenon in which the deceased prey on those they had loved in life, turning intimate memories into nightmares. The spectral figure uses their shared past as a weapon, systematically dismantling her friendships, her careers, and her self-worth. She's desperate to escape and plunges into a quest to sever the ghostly bonds that tie her to her tormentor. Sounds wonderful. I have to imagine it's complicated. It sounds like the government's working on a cure, but to do so, she has to basically turn her husband in, even though he's a ghost now, and I imagine that still is painful. Sounds really great to me. Next, July 22nd, Greenwich by Kate Broad takes place in summer 1999. You're following Rachel, who is almost 18 when she arrives at her aunt and uncle's mansion in Greenwich. Her glamorous aunt is struggling to heal from an injury, and Rachel wants to help and escape her own troubles. But her aunt is oddly spacey, and her uncle is consumed with business, so Rachel starts to feel lonely and adrift. The only bright spot is Claudia, a recent college grad and the live-in babysitter for Rachel's cousin. So they sort of strike up this friendship, and then a tragic accident occurs in which Rachel must make a pivotal choice. Caught between her desire to do the right thing and to protect her future, she's the only one who really knows what happened, and her decision will have consequences far beyond what she could have predicted. This is for fans of Celeste Ng and Liane Moriarty. In the List by Steve Barry. This is for fans of John Grisham and Harlan Coben. It's a standalone legal thriller that finds attorney Brent Walker returning to his small Georgia hometown where he unravels a corporate corruption scheme. Finally, for July 22nd is Dead of Summer by Jessa Maxwell. This takes place on Hadley Island, where secrets lie under the sun and sand. It is off the coast of New England. It boasts cold and lonely winters and sun-soaked sandy summers. Of course, a lot of people are coming to town for a vacation, and the most prominent of these families that have vacation homes there are the Clarks, who own the largest mansion on the island, and up until 15 years ago threw a legendary 4th of July party when a girl went missing. Everyone's got a secret. The billionaire, the heir, the almost fiance, the local girl, the recluse, and everything leads back to that fateful party. And this summer, the truth will come out. Well, if there's one thing about me, I love reading books that are tied into the date I'm currently living in. So I love that this is set around the 4th of July. 4th of July is next week as I'm recording this, which is kind of crazy. So maybe I need to bump this one up. Let's read the first sentence. She hears a scream before she hits the water. It's pretty good. Finally, July 29th. There are 5 Tuesdays in July. You have Guess Again by Charlie Donnelly. 10 years ago, 17-year-old high school volleyball star vanished from her quiet Wisconsin lake community. There was a huge search for her, but she was never found, and the case has gone cold. Now, in present day, Ethan, a former renegade detective turned ER doctor, left law enforcement to escape the horrors of the Kid Crime Division, but on the 10th anniversary of Callie's disappearance, his former partner makes a desperate request. This man is still in law enforcement, and he's dying. And in order to ease his conscience and get closure, he needs Ethan to return to the haunting work he left behind and solve what happened to Callie once and for all. What a selfish, dying wish. Sort of. Word soon spreads, and everyone in the small town feels a rush of hope that answers will finally be found. There's a heat wave, and Ethan's investigation gains momentum, but re-examining old evidence won't be enough. He needs a new way to break the case, no matter how dangerous or unconventional. And it comes from an inmate at a maximum security prison. And it sounds like this guy has his own secrets too. Okay, it's Charlie Donnelly though, so I feel like it's going to be well done. It's going to have a lot of twists. I'm sure it's going to be long, but it sounds interesting. New Sherry Lapina, She Didn't See It Coming. This is about Bryden, who mysteriously goes missing from her luxurious condo she shares with her husband and daughter, and it soon becomes clear that the building is full of neighbors who might be up to no good. The Confessions by Paul Bradley Carr I thought sounded really interesting. It's about Liam, which is the world's most powerful supercomputer built to make the toughest decisions for its users, where to work, who to marry, and even who should live or die. But then Liam suddenly goes offline and the world is thrust into chaos because they have to make their own decisions now. Then the letters arrive. There are mysterious letters that everyone in the world gets, exposing people's darkest secrets and most shocking crimes, all beginning with the same sentence: we must confess. I think it sounds good. I feel like it sounds like a mix between The Measure by Nikki Ehrlich and Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. You Belong Here, Megan Miranda. This is an author that I have not had much success with, but let's see what this is about. This is a twisting new thriller where the secret that drove a mother from her hometown now threatens her daughter. I Will End with Mean Moms by Emma Rosenblum. This is a story of 3 wealthy Manhattan private school moms whose lives are upended when a new woman, a mom from Miami, joins their circle. Their names are Frost, Morgan, and Belle. They're wealthy, gorgeous New York City moms. Their kids attend this prestigious academy. It's a top private school in the city. Their social lives are very important to them. And then a mysterious beauty comes in and shakes everything up. And then bad things start happening to the women, and they wonder if someone is out to get them. It takes place over one eventful school year. It's part satire of upper crust momming and part mystery, interrogating the lines between friendship and jealousy. And it begs the question, what would happen if the woman standing next to you in the pickup line was actually a sociopath? I don't know. We'll have to find out. That is it for today. Hopefully you enjoyed hearing about these mystery, thriller, suspense, and horror novels that are coming out in July. Tell me, which ones are on your list? Which ones are you prioritizing? And how do we whittle down our TBR? How do we get to all the books that we want to get to? If you figured that out, let me know. Otherwise, again, leave me a comment. Let me know what you're looking forward to reading, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.